Comments made on the following paid commercial program are an expression of opinion only and should not be construed in any matter whatsoever as recommendations to buy or sell any financial instrument at any time.
Welcome to the Money and Wealth Show. On the program this week, tax tips with David Ingram, money commercials, and our special guest, Doug Casey. It's all about money. At the HowStreet.com Money Expo in Kamloops and Kelowna, see Garth Turner, Michael Levy, Ross Clark, David Smith, and Doug Casey. To attend free, pre-register now at HOWEstreet.com or register at the door. Welcome to the Money and Wealth Show, coming to you today from the Agora Investment Symposium in Vancouver. I'm Sterling Fox, and it's a pleasure to introduce this week's special guest, author and chairman of Casey Research, Doug Casey. Welcome to the program.
Thank you, Sterling.
The subtitle or the theme surrounding this conference, at which you, sir, are a featured speaker, is Assault on Enterprise. I've written this all down, Doug. I want to make sure I get it right. How to invest in the age of rising taxes, Wall Street crooks, and government boondoggles. That's quite a banner to place over a gathering of several hundred people from all over the planet. Who's assaulting enterprise?
Well, first of all, I think that understates the case. The governments of the world are completely out of control at this point. And what they're doing in response to the Great Recession, I would call it the beginning of the Greater Depression, actually, is not just the wrong thing, but exactly the opposite of the right thing, which is going to guarantee that as we come out the other side of, right now we're in the eye of the hurricane. We went through the leading edge of it in 2008, and things have gotten temporarily better. But as we come out the other side, it's going to be much stormier, it's going to last much longer, and it's going to have much wider effect. So this is very serious, what we're looking at right now. This is not just another recession.
What then have governments neglected to do right that would make the second half of the storm passing through somewhat more tolerable?
Well, government can't do anything to ameliorate conditions. The best thing the government can do is get out of the way.
Okay.
They should be radically cutting taxes, radically cutting spending, radically cutting regulations, but they're doing just the opposite. So it's going to get worse. It's not going to get better.
Well, let me pick you up on the regulations part, because the Obama administration has just passed that 1,000-page Financial Regulation Act based on the collapse of 2007, 2008, and basically blaming all of that on an unregulated Wild West show financial situation. So what choice had they but to do what they've done?
Well, look, the last depression, the one of the 1930s, was not caused by a lack of regulation. There was very little regulation back in the 20s, incidentally, but that wasn't the problem. The problem was the government was inflating the currency, even though it was theoretically exchangeable, one for one with gold, or $20 would give you an ounce of gold in those days. The U.S. government was fraudulently creating credit and dollars despite that. That's why Roosevelt had to devalue the dollar in 1934, because they didn't have enough gold to cover all the dollars that they'd created. Okay? But the problem was this. What caused the depression of the 1930s was not a lack of regulation. It wasn't that people were crazier then than they were in previous times. The reason was that the government was creating lots of money and credit that was giving false signals to the economy. They were pouring 140 proof alcohol into the punch bowl, and that's what caused the stock market boom and the real estate bubble of the 1920s, which burst. And then they did exactly the wrong thing to cure the problem, which was regulate the industry. Now they're compounding that error. So no, I'm very unhappy about the actions that they're taking. Just the opposite of what they should be doing. They should disband all these regulations and agencies, free up the economy, and allow people to create wealth. But in order to do that, you need a sound currency. And what they're doing now is creating trillions of new units of currency all over the world. So in the years to come, you're going to actually have runaway inflation in a number of countries, and this is the worst thing that could happen.
Let me pick you up on this business of regulation, because this is a very controversial subject, and you're a controversial guy. It's great to have you with us. In the absence of regulation, powerful forces with unscrupulous ethics could prevail unchecked, and to the detriment of us all. How then can you, where's the balance or the check that would control some, or rein some of that in?
Well, look, there are laws, common laws against the use of fraud and force. And you don't need any special laws that are applied to securities for that reason. And when it comes to wise regulators that are keeping the bad guys at bay, most of these so-called wise regulators are going through the revolving door from Goldman Sachs and other giant firms.
That's a good point.
Into regulation and law and passing more laws that generally favor the big guys. So while they say they're protecting the little guy, it's a complete fraud. I mean, in the US, we have the SEC. Stands for Securities and Exchange Commission.
Right.
I think it ought to stand for Swindlers Encouragement Confabulation, because they create all these distortions in the marketplace, immensely raising the cost of floating securities and doing business, costing business tens, hundreds of billions of dollars a year because of their existence. But worse than that, they give the average guy the feeling that he's being protected, so he doesn't have to worry. He doesn't have to do due diligence because the SEC is watching things. It's a total disaster. No, it should be abolished. The best regulation for the market is the market itself. What actually keeps people in line in the stock market is the same thing that keeps them in line when they go to a restaurant. It's why people pay their bills when they walk out, even if there's not a cop standing at the door. It's peer pressure. Moral opprobrium, social approbation. And eventually, as the government, most governments go bankrupt, these agencies will disappear, not because they're rolled back out of common sense and intelligence, but because the government simply can't afford them anymore. So that's why they're going to go away.
Our guest this week on the Money and Wealth Show is Doug Casey. Lots more to come, too. Please stay with us.
Good afternoon. My name's Larry Ray. I'm the president and CEO of American Manganese, Inc. I'm here to tell you today that American Manganese could possibly bring in the lowest cost electrolytic manganese metal mine in North America. It'll be the first one in the past few decades. What is manganese? Well, you can't have a steel industry without manganese. If you don't have manganese, you don't have steel. If you don't have steel, the world stops. North America has no manganese. We depend on our neighbors and other countries to import our manganese, and it just doesn't make any sense. We don't exploit the resources in our own country. So I'm here to tell you that we are moving ahead with the feasibility study, we're moving ahead with the environmental studies, and we're moving ahead with a massive drill program in order to build the American Manganese, Inc. into the first primary electrolytic manganese producer in the United States. Please visit our website at americanmanganese-inc.com or call us at 604-531-9639. Thank you.